For 8 years, I hosted every holiday, cooked every meal, and handled all the gifts. Then they ghosted me and shared a family photo without me in it. I walked away quietly. The next morning, I woke up to 27 missed calls. I, 34M, stared at my phone screen, the notification count climbing higher with each refresh. 27 missed calls. 43 unread messages. The irony wasn't lost on me. For 8 years, I'd been the one making the calls, sending the messages, coordinating everything. Now they were all desperately trying to reach me. Let me back up. For nearly a decade, I'd been the unofficial family coordinator. Every Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, birthday, you name it, I hosted it. My house became the default gathering place. My kitchen the command center for elaborate meals that took days to prepare. I'd spend weeks planning menus, shopping for ingredients, decorating, buying gifts for everyone's kids, making sure dietary restrictions were accommodated. I genuinely loved it. There's something deeply satisfying about bringing people together, creating those warm family moments that everyone remembers years later. My siblings, 2 sisters and a brother, had their own lives, their own excuses. Sarah lived across town with her 3 kids and claimed her place was too small. Mark was always traveling for work, and when he wasn't, his wife preferred not to host. Lisa had just bought a new house and didn't want the mess. Somehow, it always fell to me, and I accepted it willingly. I was single, had a decent-sized house, and honestly enjoyed the chaos of a full family gathering. The pattern was always the same. I'd send out the group text weeks in advance, asking about dates and dietary needs. I'd plan elaborate menus, shop for groceries, prep for days. I'd buy gifts for all 7 of my nieces and nephews, carefully selecting something special for each one. I'd decorate my house to create that perfect holiday atmosphere. Then they'd all show up, eat the food I'd spent days preparing, exchange the gifts I'd bought and wrapped, take photos in front of the decorations I'd hung, and leave me with a mountain of dishes and cleanup. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't keeping score initially. Family is family, right? You do these things because you love people, not because you expect anything in return. But over the years, the imbalance became impossible to ignore. No one ever offered to host. No one ever asked if I needed help with shopping or cooking. When I'd hint that maybe we could rotate hosting duties, there were always excuses. Sarah's house was too small. Mark's schedule was too unpredictable. Lisa was renovating. Always something. The breaking point came last Christmas. I'd outdone myself that year. A full traditional dinner for 14 people, including extended family. I'd spent 3 days cooking, bought gifts for everyone, even arranged for a photographer to capture some family portraits. It was exhausting but beautiful. Everyone seemed to have a wonderful time. 2 weeks later, I was scrolling through social media when I saw it. A family photo from New Year's Eve. All of them together, my siblings, their spouses, their kids, at some restaurant I'd never heard of. They were all dressed up, smiling, clearly having planned this gathering without me. The caption read something about starting the new year with the people who matter most. I stared at that photo for a long time. 8 years of hosting, cooking, gift buying, and coordinating, and they'd organized a family gathering without even thinking to invite me. It wasn't just the exclusion that stung, it was the casual nature of it, like my absence was so normal they didn't even notice. I didn't call anyone. I didn't send angry texts. I just quietly unfollowed them all on social media and decided I was done. When Valentine's Day came around, I didn't send my usual message to the family group chat about hosting dinner. When my nephew's birthday approached in March, I didn't offer to organize the party. Easter passed without a word from me about our traditional brunch. For the first time in 8 years, I was silent. The calls started trickling in around Easter. Sarah called first, asking if I was planning anything. I told her I wasn't hosting this year. Maybe someone else could take a turn. She seemed surprised, but said she'd figure something out. Mark called a few days later with the same question, and I gave him the same answer. Lisa was the most persistent, calling multiple times and leaving voicemails about how everyone was expecting to come to my place like always. I ignored most of the calls. When I did answer, I was polite but firm. I wasn't hosting anymore. If they wanted family gatherings, they were welcome to organize them. I'd be happy to attend if invited, but my days of being the default coordinator were over. The months passed quietly. I heard through mutual friends that they'd attempted a few gatherings at Sarah's place, but they were smaller affairs, just immediate family, No extended relatives, simple meals instead of the elaborate spreads I used to prepare. Apparently, the kids kept asking when they were going to Uncle's house again, wondering why the parties weren't as fun anymore. I used my newfound free time to focus on myself. I started dating again, something I'd barely had time for when I was constantly planning family events. I took a cooking class, for my own enjoyment this time, not to feed a crowd. I traveled, visited friends, rediscovered hobbies I'd neglected. For the first time in years, my weekends were my own. The real test came when Thanksgiving approached. I'd already made plans to spend the holiday with friends, a small, intimate gathering where everyone contributed something and no one person carried the entire burden. It felt revolutionary. 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, the calls intensified. Sarah called daily, sometimes multiple times. Mark sent long text messages about family tradition and how the kids were disappointed. Lisa showed up at my house unannounced, pleading with me to reconsider. They all seemed genuinely confused about why I was being so stubborn, as if 8 years of one-sided hosting was just the natural order of things. I remained polite but unmoved. I made other plans. If they wanted to host Thanksgiving, they were welcome to do so. I'd be happy to bring a side dish if invited. But I wasn't organizing it, cooking the entire meal, or buying gifts for everyone. The day before Thanksgiving, I got a call from my mother. She'd been staying out of the drama, but apparently, my siblings had finally reached out to her, complaining that I was ruining family traditions. She asked me gently what was going on, and I explained everything. The years of hosting, the New Year's photo, the decision to step back. She was quiet for a long moment before admitting she hadn't realized how much I'd been doing or how little support I'd been getting. She said she'd assumed everyone was taking turns hosting and was surprised to learn it had all fallen on me. She also mentioned that my siblings had been struggling to organize anything without me, and that several family members had asked her why the gatherings had become so sparse and disorganized. That Thanksgiving, I had a wonderful time with my friends. We cooked together, shared stories, played games, and cleaned up as a team. No one person was responsible for everything. It was exactly what a family gathering should be: collaborative, joyful, and balanced. Meanwhile, I heard later that my siblings had attempted to host at Sarah's house. The turkey was undercooked, they forgot to buy wine, and there were no gifts for the kids because everyone assumed someone else was handling it. The gathering ended early when one of the kids had a meltdown about the missing presents, and several family members left disappointed. Christmas approached with even more desperation from my siblings. The calls became more frequent, the messages more pleading. They offered to help with cooking, to bring dishes, to handle decorations, all the things I'd been hoping to hear for years. But it felt too little, too late. These offers were coming from panic, not from genuine desire to share the load. I spent Christmas with my new girlfriend and her family. It was refreshing to be a guest for once, to contribute a single dish and enjoy the meal someone else had planned. Her family was warm and welcoming, and I found myself relaxing in a way I hadn't during family gatherings in years. The aftermath was swift and dramatic. Apparently, my siblings had attempted to host Christmas dinner at Mark's house, but it was a disaster. The timing was all wrong, the food was mediocre, and the kids were cranky because there was no organized gift exchange. Several extended family members left early, and some didn't show up at all after hearing about the Thanksgiving debacle. That's when the real panic set in. My siblings suddenly realized that I hadn't just been hosting parties. I'd been the glue holding our extended family together. Without my coordination, invitations weren't sent, details weren't communicated, and people stopped showing up. The family network that had taken years to build was crumbling in a matter of months. The New Year's Eve gathering, the same type of event where they'd excluded me the year before, was apparently a sad affair with just the 4 siblings and their immediate families. No extended relatives, no friends, no festive atmosphere. Just a group of people who suddenly realized they didn't actually know how to organize the kind of gatherings they'd been taking for granted. By January, the missed calls and messages had reached a crescendo. They were all calling constantly, leaving voicemails that ranged from apologetic to angry to desperate. Sarah admitted they'd made a mistake excluding me from last year's New Year's gathering. Mark offered to pay for catering if I'd host Easter. Lisa suggested we could rotate hosting duties going forward, with everyone taking turns. But I'd moved on. The quiet months had shown me how much mental energy I'd been spending on family coordination and how much more peaceful my life was without that constant responsibility. I'd built new traditions, formed new relationships, and discovered parts of myself that had been buried under years of people-pleasing. The 27 missed calls were the final straw. I listened to a few of the voicemails, a mixture of guilt-tripping, bargaining, and genuine apologies. Sarah was crying in one message, talking about how the kids missed our family parties. Mark was offering to hire professional help for cooking and decorating. Lisa was promising that things would be different, that everyone would contribute equally. I turned off my phone and went for a long walk. When I came back, I crafted a single group message. I told them I loved them all, but I was done being the family coordinator. If they wanted to rebuild family traditions, they needed to do it together, as equals. I'd be happy to participate if invited, but I wouldn't be organizing, hosting, or carrying the primary responsibility anymore. The responses came quickly. Anger, denial, more bargaining. Some accused me of being selfish and destroying family unity. Others tried emotional manipulation, talking about disappointing the children and breaking apart traditions. But I held firm. The 8 years of one-sided effort had taught me something valuable about boundaries and self-respect. Sometimes walking away quietly is the most powerful statement you can make. Sometimes people don't appreciate what they have until it's gone. 6 months later, I heard that my siblings had finally started taking turns hosting smaller gatherings. The elaborate affairs I used to organize were a thing of the past, but they were slowly learning to share responsibilities and create new traditions. Some extended family members had drifted away, but the core group was adapting. As for me, I was building something better. A life where my generosity was appreciated rather than expected, where relationships were balanced rather than one-sided. The 27 missed calls had been their wake-up call, but walking away had been mine.